How's it going, guys? We are back with another episode, and this time we have the animated history of Australia. So, as always, the link to the original video will be in the description section down below. And without further ado, let's check this video out.
This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 500 viewers who sign up using the link below get 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free.
And as always, again, the link will be in the description down below. So follow that link, go to the original video, and do that if you're into Skillshare.
Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Macrobius believed that there was far too much land in the northern hemisphere, and that there must be some undiscovered continent balancing the globe somewhere in the south. Okay, so the logic was a little flawed, but during the Age of Discovery, the search was on for Terra Australis Incognito. Fast forward a few centuries to the East Indies. 3 Dutch sailors landed in Australia accidentally. Fast forward a few. The Age of Discovery, the search was on for Terra Australis Incognito.
Land, southern, unknown. So Australis means southern, okay.
Fast forward a few centuries to the East Indies. 3 Dutch sailors landed in Australia accidentally.
Shout out to the Netherlands, guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are just the first to do every fucking thing, it seems like.
In the 1600s, the mythical southern continent had just been found.
Yeah, they did. They found that shit. Uh-oh. That don't look good.
Australia was the last of the New World to be discovered, because let's be honest, nobody cares about Antarctica. Australia was of course already inhabited. Indigenous Australians—
Wait, the last of the New World? So was it after the United States that this was discovered? I don't know.
Also known as Aborigines, had a population of between 300 and 700,000 by modern estimates. Early contacts with these tribes were as often peaceful as they were violent. It is thought that these groups arrived in 2 stages. The first was from the Indian subcontinent via a land bridge that connected Australia to the island of New Guinea, bringing with them the Pama-Nyungan language family.
Okay.
The second wave was much later and may have been groups related to the Austronesians of Indonesia. Their culture and history was preserved through the oral tradition. The Dutch named the island New Holland after the county of Holland in the Netherlands, but it wasn't until the British landed on the east coast and named it New South Wales that Europeans began to settle. Landing in Port Jackson on the 26th of January 1788, hey, that's today, the so-called First Fleet arrived to found the colony of Sydney, with the intention of using the labour of prisoners to achieve wealth for Britain. However, contrary to Australia's convict founding myth, less than half of this First Fleet were actually convicts. In the 1800s, Australia was circumnavigated, mapped, and new colonies started springing up all over. Hobart, Newcastle, Launceston, Port Macquarie, Brisbane and Melbourne, with dozens of penal centres. Adelaide and Perth—
Pretty sure that's supposed to be like the most, like the best city basically to like raise a family in the world or something. I don't remember for sure, but it was something about Melbourne being like the best, like just like the ultimate like city to live in.
Were founded as free settlement cities, but the latter was made into a penal colony after it failed to grow naturally. As the Europeans expanded, the frontier wars began with the Aboriginals, many of whom were hostile to the foreign invaders.
I mean, yeah, they don't want somebody just coming up in there taking their fucking shit.
Famously, the Black War of Tasmania, which nearly wiped out the indigenous Tasmanians. But far more destructive to the Aboriginals was smallpox, which killed tens of thousands. Australia's growth would stagnate until the 1850s gold rush, which drew hundreds and thousands of settlers from all around the world in search for wealth, particularly in New South Wales and what would become Victoria. This would forever change Australia's character, with new free settlers overshadowing its convict past, bringing with them their ideas of European Enlightenment, the American self-determinism, and the Chinese hatred for the British. These gold diggers became discontent with the corrupt and badly run colonial elites and rose up in rebellion in the infamous Eureka Stockade. These settlers were beginning to feel a sense of nationalism, that perhaps Australia could be something different. The winds of change were on Terra Australis, and soon large-scale trade unions developed in Australia's largely working-class population from the ideas of orthodox Marxists. Trade unions still hold a significant influence over Australian politics today.
But let's not forget the rift that had been forming between Australia and Australians, the government and its people. Thousands of ex-convicts were being released each year, most of them turning to civil jobs, but a sizable minority turned to Australia's bushy frontier for freedom and profits. Policing was harsh, but Order couldn't reach far enough. Outside of the cities, only personal gain and wealth could drive law enforcement. Money would change hands and...
Speaking of money, Australia has some amazing currency. All plastic, set in like the revolutionary, like new standards in currency across the globe, in fact.
It was sealed. In this climate, an Australian icon was born, Ned Kelly. Famous
An icon,
for his
huh?
tin
I've
hat,
never heard of
Robin
him.
Hood thievery.
The fuck? What is he wearing on his head?
Was born,
tin hat.
Ned Kelly. Famous
fuck?
for
Why the hell is he wearing that?
his tin hat, Robin Hood thievery, infamous for his cop killing and town raids, and recognizable everywhere for that.
That's what he's like, running around in a homemade night suit or some shit.
Nifty bulletproof suit. For
That's
more
nuts.
on one of the most well-known cornerstones of Australian folklore, come to my channel, Feature History, and check out my video on Old Ned.
Ned Kelly.
Okay, so besides bulletproof suits or whatever, most Aussie colonies were granted self-governing status and united to form the Commonwealth of Australia in 1901, a dominion of the British Crown. The new Australian government was very quick to open up a new
Australia's not as old as I thought. Like, that's pretty recent. That's crazy.
dark chapter in Aboriginal history, the infamous Stolen Generation. Beginning in 1905, the government
What'd they
began
steal?
rounding up half-castes, a term which is now highly offensive, and settled them into white families with the intention of breeding out their Aboriginal blood, in a form of cultural genocide. Abuses of these children were also rampant, which is a rather depressing segue into the White Australia policy, a set of strict settlement acts which restricted immigration from anyone who wasn't British or Northern European up until about the Second World War. As a British colony, Australia would unilaterally declare war on Germany during the First World War, forming the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps, or ANZACs.
Anzac.
The young nation was sent headfirst into war. Around 500,000 soldiers volunteered, or nearly 1/10 of the total population. The baptism of fire came during the Gallipoli campaign, when more than 8,000 men lost their
shit.
lives in the failed invasion of Turkey, an
Scared me
event
for a
etched
second.
into the memory of the Australian zeitgeist.
There they
Although
go.
crippled from the Great Depression, Australia again took up arms in 1939 to support her mother nation in the Second World War, this time fighting in Europe, North Africa, the Pacific, and South Asia. Prisoners of war in Malaya, Burma, and Thailand were treated inhumanely by the Japanese, who also bombed Australia's northern coast about 100 times.
Damn.
Australia is still a very young nation, but it has emerged a very powerful force in the region, now a beacon of democracy, social progressivism, and commerce, with its phenomenal urbanization consistently ranked among the world's most livable cities. Walking the line
Melbourne.
between left and right with generous social programs, universal suffrage, a welcoming immigration policy, and attractive business prospects.
Oh yeah.
This is John. John wants to learn how to play the didgeridoo he bought from a garage sale, but the lessons are expensive, so John will probably give up. But wait, John, you can learn for free over at Skillshare.
Again, with the Skillshare thing, go check it out, guys.
In just 17 minutes with Paul Carlos, you can take a beginner's course in the didgeridoo.
You can play the didgeridoo as
Skillshare is
well.
an online learning platform where you can learn a new skill, with more than 20,000 courses in design, business, technology, and more. John's friend Sally wants to learn how to animate a kangaroo, so why not this lesson on
to
After Effects
Skillshare.
by Kurzgesagt? And the great part is it's all going to be absolutely free for 2 months for the first 500 viewers who
is
sign up
that
using
it?
the link below.
Yep.
Some of the art.
All right, well, that was it, guys. The animated history of Australia. And if you want to go to the original video, it will be in the description section down below. So I will see you guys in the next one.